Welcome to the deep dive. Every business owner has probably felt it, right? That frustrating slowdown at the checkout,
Oh, yeah.
or maybe the paper jams right during the lunch rush, or just the headache of trying to get a new piece of tech talking to your older system that still works fine.
Absolutely. Those little friction points, they really add up.
They do. And today we're diving deep into a piece of hardware that's actually designed to tackle those exact frustrations one receipt at a time. We're talking about the QUORiON QPrint HCube. It's a brand new external receipt printer, and it's making some big promises about streamlining operations, especially for retail and hospitality folks. Our whole deep dive today, it's built right off the official product data sheet. So we've got the key insights, straight from the source.
The horse's mouth, so to speak.
Exactly. So our mission is to really unpack what makes this printer stand out. What does it actually mean for your efficiency, your customer flow, maybe even your bottom line? Okay, let's unpack this.
It's so true. In business tech, it's often those foundational tools, the ones we kind of ignore until they break,
Right.
that actually have the biggest impact day to day and on, well, customer satisfaction. A printer isn't just spitting out paper.
No.
It's really about enabling that smooth transaction.
Mm.
And yet, the data sheet for this QPrint HCube jumps right out with speed, reliability, and effortless operation.
Keywords.
Absolutely key. For fast-paced places like shops and restaurants, those aren't just nice-to-haves. They're essential. It's all about cutting down friction right there at the point of sale.
Exactly. So let's get to the core then. What is the QPrint HCube?
Looking at the specs, it's definitely a high-quality thermal printer.
Thermal.
And it seems specifically built for the tough demands of retail and hospitality, not just some generic office thing. They even call it the compact receipt printer for your business.
Right.
But, there are a lot of printers out there. What really makes this one different? What sets it apart from just, another printer? Well, first off, thermal printing itself, yeah, you get the ink savings, no cartridges, simpler operation. That's standard thermal.
Okay.
But what's really interesting here, looking at the data sheet, is how QUORiON engineered this specific thermal head. They rate it for an incredible 100 kilometers of durability.
Wow, 100 kilometers.
Yeah, think about that. 100 kilometers of paper printed before you even need to think about replacing the print head.
That's huge.
It translates directly into much lower maintenance costs and just, consistent print quality, even if you're hammering it all day long. And like you said, it's built for retail and hospitality, which means tackling things like high volume and critically often really tight counter space.
Okay, the 100-kilometer figure is definitely sticking with me. And speaking of performance, the datasheet makes a big deal about lightning-fast printing. But lightning-fast, that can be a bit vague, right? For a business owner, what does that actually mean in numbers? And, how does it feel during that crazy busy Saturday afternoon?
Good question.
The source gives a specific speed, up to 230 millimeters per second. Which sounds fast. I guess it's like printing a standard receipt in, the blink of an eye.
Pretty much, yeah.
So for your busy shop or restaurant, what's the real impact of that? Here's where it gets really interesting.
Well, that 230 millimeter per second, what's fascinating is how directly that speed translates into, actual operational improvements and, honestly, happier customers.
Okay.
We've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Stuck in line while someone's receipt just chugs out.
Yes. Holds everything up.
This printer basically eliminates that. It makes a huge difference in streamlining things, especially peak hours. Faster transactions mean shorter lines, higher throughput. You might serve, a few percent more customers just because things move quicker.
That directly impacts the bottom line then.
Directly. And it builds loyalty, too. Think about the difference. A customer who waits an extra 30 seconds getting annoyed versus one who just breezes through. They're more likely to come back, leave a good review. And yeah, lots of printers claim speed, but combining that 230 millimeters per second with really durable parts like the datasheet mentions a cutter life of 1.2 million cuts.
1 million cuts. Wow.
Means it's not just fast out of the box, it stays fast reliably for years.
Yeah.
That cuts down on those hidden costs, maintenance, downtime that you get with cheaper models. Oh, and a small detail, but important. No distracting noise.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, even at full speed, no loud grinding or whirring messing up the atmosphere.
That consistent speed plus the durability, that really does sound like a game changer for avoiding those sneaky costs. And it's not just how fast it prints, right? It's how easily it fits into whatever setup a business already has. That's often where the real headaches and costs can pile up.
Absolutely. Integration is huge.
So the datasheet talks up universal connectivity and seamless integration, claims it works without extra costs or time-consuming modifications. I mean, that's a bold promise, especially if you've got older systems.
And is a bold promise.
Yeah. How universal is it really? Does it actually deliver? The details list specific ports, USB Type-B, a serial DSUB9, LAN, which is RJ45, and even a drawer connection, RJ11 24-volt.
And that list of ports, that's exactly why they can claim that universal applicability.
Ah, okay.
For a business owner, that mix means this QPrint HCube can likely connect to pretty much any point-of-sale system you have, whether it's an old-school setup needing a serial port or a modern network system using LAN.
Right, so no need to upgrade everything else just to get a new printer.
Exactly. It avoids forcing costly upgrades to your whole POS setup or needing complex software patches just to make things talk to each other.
Yeah.
That promise of no extra costs or time-consuming modifications, it seems genuinely backed up by these standard interfaces.
Makes sense.
And you mentioned the drawer connection that's often overlooked, but it shows it integrates into the whole ecosystem, controlling the cache drawer, acting like a central hub almost. Plus, the source also mentions SKPOS emulation.
Okay, what's that?
For anyone who deals with POS tech, SCPOS is basically the standard language printers use. Having that built in means it should work with most existing POS software right away without needing special drivers or custom programming. Another major headache avoided.
Got it. So it's fast, it's tough, and it basically plugs into anything.
Pretty much sums it up, yeah.
We've covered performance, compatibility, but let's be real. In a busy shop or cafe, counter space is like gold.
Always.
And things need to be easy to use and, frankly, able to take a bit of a beating. So how does the QPrint HCube stack up physically? The datasheet mentions a sleek design, small footprint. Dimensions are just 179 by 140 by 117 millimeters.
Tiny.
Yeah, to help you picture that, it's barely bigger than a small shoebox. Takes up minimal counter space. And beyond size, they talk about simple and intuitive operation, hassle-free receipt roll replacement, and also energy-saving operation.
Okay, let's connect this to the bigger picture, that small footprint. Hugely important, where every inch counts. Think small cafes, boutiques, busy bars. It gives you flexibility in where you put it without cluttering the place up.
Right.
And the hassle-free receipt roll replacement. It's not just about convenience. The datasheet specifically says it handles receipt rolls up to 80 millimeters in diameter.
Oh, that's bigger than usual.
Yeah, quite a bit larger than many standard rolls. That means practically longer operating time between changes, fewer interruptions for staff, especially during peak times. Imagine not having to change the roll right in the middle of the lunch rush.
Yeah, that's a definite plus.
And the focus on durable components, again, that directly supports the idea of no maintenance. For a business, that means less downtime, fewer calls to tech support, just a lower total cost of ownership over the printer's life.
And we already mentioned the crazy numbers, 1.2 million cuts, 100-kilometer print head life.
Exactly. Those specs really drive home that this isn't a flimsy machine. It's built to last under constant use. And finally, that energy-saving operation. Okay, it's good for the planet, sure, but it also means real, measurable savings on the electricity bill over time.
Every little bit helps the bottom line.
Always.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. Let's recap the main strengths we've unpacked. We've got that lightning-fast 230 millimeter speed, backed by some serious durability for consistent work. We have universal compatibility, should plug into almost anything, saving integration pain and money.
Right.
A really compact design that fits pretty much anywhere. And simple, easy operation, from setup right down to changing the paper roll. So, thinking about your business, the one you run every day, what does this all really mean?
Well,
the source material sums it up nicely. Choose speed, reliability, and effortless operation with the QUORiON QPrint HCube.
and what's really compelling, I think, is that this QPrint HCube isn't just a list of good specs on paper. It feels like it's been engineered as a quiet, reliable partner that just removes friction at that critical point of sale.
A workhorse.
A workhorse, exactly.
Yeah.
It really shows how even this kind of foundational tech can seriously impact your overall business performance and, crucially, customer satisfaction. By speeding things up, cutting down time, making daily tasks simpler. This printer lets businesses focus more on their customers, less on fighting with the technology.
Makes sense.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about enabling a smoother, maybe even more profitable interaction with every single sale. It becomes a valuable asset, even if it's mostly unseen, That helps the bottom line and just makes the whole experience better for everyone.
That was quite the deep dive into something that, might look simple on the surface, a receipt printer. But as we've seen, there's a lot of thoughtful design and real practical benefits packed in there for businesses. It really shows how good engineering in these background tools can quietly streamline so much. It kind of proves that old saying, right? The best tech is the tech you don't even notice.
So true.
Well, thank you for joining us on this exploration of the QUORiON QPrint HCube. And as you go about your day, here's a final thought to chew on. We live in a world that's rushing towards digital everything, digital payments, email receipts. So what role does that physical piece of paper, the printed receipt, and the reliable machine that makes it still play? How important is it for building trust, for transparency, for just completing the customer experience? Something to think about. Until our next deep dive.
It really does raise an interesting question. How often do we just overlook these fundamental bits of tech that keep things running smoothly all around us? Those seamless interactions we kind of take for granted. There's always something new to learn when you look closely at the tools behind our daily lives.